Hello everyone, Simon from Higher Plane Network or music, games, I love disaster movies, wherever it is that you're coming from, whatever project. I hope you're well and having a good weekend. I wanted to do a video just to explain some life updates basically of what's been going on because I have people that subscribe to me on Patreon and pay financially to help me do some of these projects, and I usually am able to post things daily and I'm not able to do so at the moment. And I just thought I'd post this video publicly because just in case you were interested in what goes on in my life, you get to find out, because I don't really do this stuff to camera. It's not really my thing. Okay. My dad was showing early signs of dementia just before COVID hit. And then we was trying to get some answers about it. And then COVID hit and everything in the UK went down. And so you couldn't get any help anywhere at all. And as soon as COVID lifted, our focus switched from dementia to cancer, because my dad was diagnosed with colon cancer at the time. One of the things with dementia patients is this problem with new routines, new patterns, new behaviours, new environments. And so when my dad had part of his colon removed and a stoma put in, he really struggled with that. He also struggled with the surgery, and it was a real, like, have we done the right thing in some ways? Because he had all kinds of infections, water infections, chest infections, all kinds of stuff. And it was a real problem and a struggle for him to get home. It took him a good 6 weeks or so to kind of get out from all of that, and was really, really unwell. During all of that time and then afterwards, in the run up to October last year, we had this slow, constant decline of physical capability, but also mental capacity as well. So showing all kinds of signs of dementia, slipping through time, forgetfulness, slight reduction on motor skills, losing a bit of language here and there, incredibly challenging behaviour. My mum was doing a lot of personal care for my dad and also having to suck up that challenging behaviour. It was a really stressful time. And because I have full-time work and I don't live with my parents, I'm not there getting the brunt of it all day, every day. But we'd pick up personal care and bits and bobs where I was able to, and obviously emergency situations as they occurred. Flash forward then to October last year, my dad had a fall and clonked the back of his head on the left-hand side and has been pretty much immobile and in some kind of full-time care state since. He spent the first 2 months in hospital all the way up into January this year, but incredibly confused, disorientated, agitated, really struggling with new surroundings. And looking back now, it was the start of an acceleration of his dementia, because sometimes a traumatic brain event or a cranial event can do that. And I really firmly believe, even though we've never really had formal diagnoses, that this is what's been going on throughout this time. Because over the last 6 months, his rapid onset of dementia characteristics has just like 100 miles an hour. He does have good and bad days, but it's a real 100-mile-an-hour decline. Then in January, he was not better, but stable, and was able to be given a placement in a brain injury specialist unit with the goal to try and get him some kind of rehabilitation, particularly around speech and language therapy, because he was had real trouble chewing and swallowing food, trying to get those language sensors reconnected to some degree. And whilst he was never going to be what he was pre the fall, it would give him some quality of life back. He went into the brain injury unit, and then I think my mum, having kind of gone whew, then had a total body breakdown. So her respiratory system failed, and she, in the middle of January, was collapsed and was put into a coma. In the same way how my mum was lucky that my mum found my dad and was there for my dad when he had his fall, I was very lucky that mum was able to reach out to me on a text message so that I was able to get round there and find her collapsed, to get her in an ambulance, because otherwise neither of them would be here today. And yeah, so both parents in incredibly difficult situations. We didn't know if my mum was going to make it. We were told it was very touch and go the first night. She was put into a coma, and spent most of that week in a coma before being brought out of it at the end of it. Obviously, whilst all that's going on, we've still got my dad not engaging with any of the help in the brain injury unit, on a slow decline, really struggling with a new setting. So real ping pong back and forth. My mum is making good progress. She's back home making a recovery and is doing stunningly well, considering what, 8, 9, 10 weeks ago she was on a table when we were talking about resuscitation and what should and shouldn't happen, and we need to know now kind of thing, because it was going on in the background in the room next door, to now her kind of going, I'm going to try and attempt a bit of hoovering today and we'll see how we get on. I'm thinking, oh Christ. It's funny, the things that drives people. Having a clean house seems to be the motivator to try and get my mum up and running and doing stuff. When more and more power for her, she's not letting it get to her. Whereas my dad was quite defeatist. My mum is much more of a, fuck it, let's give it a go. And you can really see how the two mentalities for me are really playing out over time. So, flash forward to now. The brain injury unit specialist team weren't able to do anything for my dad. He really struggled there, would have some good days, most bad. And it's time for him to come home. And I'm thinking, I can't do personal care for both. And dad has no safety filter. Whereas my mum understands what's safe and what isn't. My dad has none of that whatsoever. So we was making a decision that we should go into full-time care, and was trying to get through various different social services to get that all sorted out. He moved into care a week and a half ago. He's already in hospital with chest infections. It's been a week and a half from absolute hell because he's not settled in this new care home at all. It's the only care home that would take him because he's got very challenging behaviour and is constantly agitated and requires one-to-one support at all times, which I think justifies the decision in my mind, or helps me justify the decision in my mind, that trying to take on both, and I'd have had to have given up full-time employment to have done it, was not the right decision and the correct decision, because both need help and care and support. What was I saying? Yeah, so he has been in hospital. He's just literally being taken back out of it now, but we're having that same do not resuscitate conversations. He's incredibly frail and unwell. He's very disorientated and confused. And because he requires constant calming from 6 a.m. to 10, 11 p.m, if I'm not there in person, it's being on the phone, giving help and support. It's also making sure and checking that mum's okay. And although she is getting more independence back, it's that worry of making sure everyone's doing the right thing at the right time. And with dad, I think we're entering, it's so difficult to say. I feel like we're entering part of the end game of that final stages towards him passing away. But you can never tell. There's a saying of like, creaky doors last the longest, and fucking hell, he's creaky. So he might be around for a very long time, but if he is, I'm hoping that he will become more settled in his environment, because then he'll feel more comfortable and be less agitated and less challenging, so that it then releases the burden on me, because 6 a.m. in the morning to like 9 a.m, I'm trying to get like caring bits done, but also trying to get some work done early, because I know I'll be impacted during the day with having to deal with either social services or the care team, or talking to dad directly, who's totally forgotten because he's got no short-term memory, that we've already had a conversation earlier and he's wanting a taxi to come home, all of that kind of stuff. So you're constantly involved in it. Then work drags on. I lead a team of 60 in central government. Government could not organise a piss up in a brewery if it tried, and it's very frustrating. So you have to try and like smash things through doors and be like, come on, stop being absolute idiots, let's have some common sense and do things properly. And when that's finished, you're then caring for sorting out some stuff for dad in the afternoon and evening. Might be doing some shopping for mum, or some like DIY bits, or it was dinner, and then although we didn't get into like full on washing, it was setting up stuff so that she's enabled to try and have independence as she gets her way back to independence. And that's what life is. And so I'm not able to get to produce all of this like content because I don't get to it until like 11 o'clock at night, where I'm thinking about what am I having for dinner, and I'm up again at 6. And I'm making time for it because for my own sanity, I love games, I love music, I love disaster movies, I love being creative. These are the things that keep me alive and keep me interested in life and all of that kind of stuff. And now that I'm 40, I appreciate all of this stuff more than ever because it's just who I am. It's my fabric, it's my DNA in some ways. But I don't have, like, previously I'd be finished at work by like 6 o'clock, I'd have some dinner, and I'd have the evening, because I don't watch telly, I don't do anything else. I'm straight into emails, playing games, looking at demos, talking to developers, chatting with musicians, helping them sort out their PR, reviewing albums, all of that stuff. That is my evening, that is my life, that is what I do. But I've now got only a couple of hours that I need to trade off with sleep, because sometimes if a day is particularly difficult, I just want to go to bed, or I want to have a cry and then go to bed. And it's just, please be patient with me whilst we go through this, because it might be that Dad gets better in terms of his comfortableness and surroundings, so therefore the burden on me is slightly less. Ultimately, we're working towards an end game of when he passes away, and then obviously I won't have, it sounds terrible to say it, the burden of that kind of constant care work that goes on. And yeah, maybe I'll do a separate video about like lessons learned from dealing with someone with dementia, because I think I've gone around a lot of things the wrong way, particularly early on. And now that I'm fully immersed in it all day, every day, you learn quick what works and what doesn't. And I wished I'd have found some of the resources online, particularly anything by Teepa Snow, Teepa Snow. The way how she describes everything to do with dementia has been super helpful and practical to help me be able to do things better with my dad. So yeah, I hope that explains why things are going to continue to be patchy for a little bit longer. I'm sorry that that's taken nearly 13 minutes to go through. We've lost enough light here, so before I turn into like a weird dark video, look after yourselves. Have a great rest of the evening or day or wherever you're watching this. And thanks so much for your support if you're going to continue doing it, because I really appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye.